Hello. Hello. It is Thursday. I had to check. This week's been weird. I don't know why specifically this week, but this week's been weird. Anyway, I realise it's odd saying it's starting to get spooky in here as my stream title when there is a picture of freaking Santa Claus on here. But I promise you that the picture is vaguely misleading. And it is a spooky game. Because we're winding up to Halloween. It's, best time of the year to play spooky games. So we're starting we're starting off slowly with this one, which to me feels a bit Dr. Decker-ish. This is Nocturnal Whiskers. Nocturnal Whispers, published and developed by FMV Interactive. It came out on the 10th of October 2025. It is available on Xbox, which is what we're playing it on, PlayStation and PC. And it's, and obviously judging by the fact that it is published and developed by FMV Interactive, it's an FMV game, even though that's not a genre on TA. Price-wise, on Xbox, we're looking at £12.49 or $14.99. And I should also say hi to Elkesh and Dan and Milo. Hello. So yeah, this one has 18 achievements, all of which appear to be obtainable. And yeah, we let's load it up, just see if there's like credity things, but also hello. Dreams are the royal road to the unconsciousness. Freud. And it stars Felicia Day. Let me just turn the volume down on the intro. Step into the shoes of a psychoanalyst and embark on a gripping journey of psychological drama.
Thank you for seeing me. I've been having the same bad dream every night for the past 8 months.
I shall let her tell.
It's exhausting. I can't sleep. I can't focus. Starting to feel like I'm losing my mind. I drove here from out of state because I heard you're the best there is at dealing with dreams and nightmares. I'm really hoping you can help me make it stop.
Can you describe the dream for me?
Yes. Okay, so the first thing I remember, I'm back in the house I grew up in. It's late on Christmas Eve, and I'm spying on Santa Claus as he's getting ready to leave us toys. My dad used to dress up as Santa every year and put all our presents under the tree. My little brother and I would sneak out of our rooms and spy on him. I always was a bit scared we'd get caught, but this time, it's different. It isn't my dad. It's the real Santa Claus, so I'm way more scared than normal. For some reason, I'm watching him through some kind of glass or screen, so I feel a little safer. I know how silly that sounds, but it's a dream, so none of it makes any sense. So I'm hiding there, watching Santa do his thing when I feel a chill come over me. Suddenly I hear a bear wrestling in the bushes. I don't know why there's bushes inside my house, but again, it's a dream. And this startles me. Santa hears it too and starts looking around for it, like frantically, like it scares him even more than it does me. Then the worst part happens. Santa and we spot the bear at the same time, and I get completely overwhelmed with terror. Seeing the bear scares me more than anything ever has or ever should. And I wake up, like, just so agitated that my heart is racing, and I can't go back to sleep. It is always the same dream. I don't know why I'm having it. I just want it to stop.
Let's start connecting some of the dots with what you've told me. I'll explain how this works. I've made a list of all the topics you mentioned in your dream. For example, you mentioned both fear and your father. If I ask you about these together, I want you to tell me whatever comes to your mind first. It might be a time when you were afraid of your father, or a fear he had that you remember, or even someone you know who was very afraid of your father. The key here is to speak freely about what you feel has the strongest connection in your mind. If other topics come up while we're talking, I'll add those to our list. This approach will help peel back the layers of your dream. By exploring these connections, we aim to uncover what your subconscious might be trying to communicate. Through this technique, we'll gradually get to the root of these nightmares. Eventually, that will lead us to insights we need, and you can start sleeping peacefully again.
Okay. So yeah, right. We have a whole bunch of things. But yes, it is real people. It is a full motion video game. FMV for short, or colloquially. They are doing the word saying thing, and yes, it is Felicia Day, who you may recognize if you are a giant geek. Who's been in a lot of sort of geeky stuff. Dr. Horrible, The Guild, that Dragon Age adaptation, Supernatural, Buffy, and other things. That's the top of my head. But yeah, it's not their own words though. No, they are still paid actors. So the intro image. Yes, thank you, Dan, for setting the record straight. So the intro image is cartoony with Santa Claus, a bear, and a red-headed kid staring out the window, which, I mean, confused me enough that I was like, okay, well, I want to play this game. Then it was like, oh, it's an FMV game. Why? So I'm wondering if there's going to be animated elements mixed in here. I think we're going to start nice and simple on the questions. We're going to ask about toys. Oh, Alkesh, I have something to tell you. They don't actually live inside the TV. Sorry. Or your computer. It is the magic of cinematography. But yeah, I thought we'd play some spooky games up to Halloween. Though, yes, spooky games containing Santa Claus. I don't know. This is sort of tangentially spooky then, but it was nightmares. I figured nightmares was probably spooky. So, anyway, hello. Hopefully you're all doing okay. It is Thursday. Hopefully your week's gone okay. We are live. Oh, and I don't think I said it's an Ideate Xbox game. Thank you to Ideate Xbox for the code for this one. Though it does say it on the splash screen for when I forget. I don't know if I said everything I usually say. So if there's something you would like to know about the game that I haven't told you, that I would usually tell you, please let me know. Also, we are 15 days to Extra Life. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow at 10 p.m. Which, well, with the clock change, I don't know what time that'll be. But if you want to know what time it'll be, it should be on your Twitch, on my Twitch schedule, which should show it in your time zone. Alkesh, does France do the clock thing on Sunday, like the UK does? Oh, excellent. Okay, so normal time for you then. The US doesn't change until the 2nd of November, so there's a week when Jesse and I are out of sync. I forget whether it's more or less. But yeah, which will affect one co-stream. Yes, they do call them that. I forget how you say it, so I'm not gonna try and butcher that pronunciation. But anyway, we're gonna ask about toys. Toys are creepy, right? Oh right, okay, toys and fear. Let's do creepy dolls, right? That's a good combination.
There were definitely some toys that freaked me out as a kid. One that stands out is, this old-fashioned porcelain doll my grandmother gave me.
Creepy dolls.
It had these glassy eyes that seemed to follow you around the room, and like this eerie, almost lifelike face.
Just gonna pause. Is the sound coming through okay? If I need to rebalance it, do let me know.
I couldn't stand to have it in my room at night. I was convinced it would just come to life. Oof. There was also this toy robot my dad got me once. It made these loud mechanical noises and had flashing red eyes. Yeah, it was supposed to be cool and futuristic, but to me, it's just plain scary. Creepy. Dolls are creepy.
Okay. Hi to Horror and Leaky and Dan, I will hurt you. No, I unmuted my stream just to hear the sound because no one had replied. But you added the JK, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Which is why that was said with jest. That's my jest face. Ooh, 190. Nice. You're getting close to 200, Leaky. Okay, so we picked toys and fear. Oh no, just Dan. Not you, Horror. You're okay. You can live. It's just Dan that has to die. This is my JK face. Okay, so bear and childhood. Why?
I have a pretty vivid memory related to bears from when I was a kid. So my school was right near some woods, so every once in a while they'd make an announcement over the PA system that recess would be indoors because a bear had been spotted nearby. And most of the other kids hated it when it happened. I mean, they'd groan and complain about not getting to play outside. But honestly, I kind of liked it. It was usually too cold outside anyway, and indoor recess meant we could play games or read, which, I preferred anyway.
Oh, we unlocked school. It's a jest face as opposed to a Jessie face. Yes, I don't. Hello, school. I got a bloop. Unlock topic school. I don't have a Jessie face. What does Jessie face look like? If I say his name enough, maybe I will summon him. Though I did already mention him in time zones. Okay, let's do father and bear. Just basically playing word association.
This was a classic. So we were all out in the yard one summer having a barbecue. It was one of those perfect nights, warm, clear sky, everyone's laughing, having a great time. Suddenly, my dad's face goes pale and he shouts, "Everybody into the house, now!" We all froze for a second, and then we started scrambling for the door. He was like yelling something about a bear in the yard. And the adrenaline kicked in, and we all rushed into the house, locking the door behind us. My heart was like, it was pounding, thinking we just narrowly escaped a bear attack. It turns out what he thought was a bear was actually this big dog. It was a huge dog, but I don't know. The tension broke. We all burst out laughing. My dad tried to play it off, saying, "Oh yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry." But no, we didn't let him off the hook.
Bears are ginormous.
For weeks afterwards.
It's not a bad idea, Alkesh. I do not have a red baseball cap. I have an unedited Xbox baseball cap, which is probably really dusty because it was living on top of one of my shelves at one point. I think it's in my office. I don't really do baseball caps because they flatten my hair down weird. But I don't have a red one. I feel like wearing a red baseball cap even though I know Jesse's is a Phillies one, is not advisable these days. Okay, fear, school, and fear. Feel free to suggest combinations.
When I think of school and fear, the first things that come to mind are all the normal school anxieties. Like worrying about your appearance to impress a bunch of people you don't even like anyway. It's funny how much time and energy went into stressing over clothes and hair and fitting in. There was this constant pressure to look a certain way, to be accepted by peers who, in the grand scheme of things, didn't matter as much as we thought they did.
Okay. Way to make me nearly choke because I was laughing so much, Dan. That was hilarious. Okay, childhood toys.
Toys were a huge part of my childhood.
This is a gimme.
I mean, they were my world. I had everything from dolls and action figures to elaborate Lego sets and the latest tech gadgets, thanks to my dad's love for all things nerdy. I also had a teddy bear named Mr. Fuzzy. He was my little buddy, and I took care of him like he was my child. I had a complete change of heart when I was about 12. Just for some reason I lost all interest in toys and almost had a distaste for them. It was probably just a phase where I started wanting to think of myself as an adult.
Adults have toys. It's also even funnier, Dan, because your name is in red on my chat thing. Does that mean you like Limp Bizkit? Okay, let's do Dad and Santa Claus.
All right, so picture this. Me, a little kid, peeking around the corner on Christmas Eve, watching my dad dress up as Santa. He's got the whole getup, red suit, white beard, the works, and he's putting out presents, acting like he has no idea I'm spying on him. And I'm just there, just trying to stifle giggles and totally buying into all the magic of it. But now I just look back and I wonder, why do parents have to go to such lengths to deceive their kids? It's just wild, right? The whole charade just to believe in this mythical guy who breaks into houses to leave gifts. It's what's the end game here? To preserve some fleeting sense of wonder? I mean, I don't know, maybe it's them wanting to relive a piece of their own childhood magic through us. I mean, anyway, the whole thing eventually crumbles when you find Dad's Santa suit stored in the closet next to a vacuum.
I mean, that is a really good question. Also, hi Circlead, I did wave. I don't know if you were watching at the time, but I'm trying not to talk over Felicia Day. We are trying to interrogate the subject of her nightmares. Each achievement appears to be unlocking one of these boxes, so, Bear. So it does show us which one we've already done. Let's do Bear and Santa Claus, because where did that dream come from? The moment we know...
I can't think of any deep, meaningful connections between
That's
Santa Claus and a bear. But they do pop up together in some pretty random places. Like, they're both in a bunch of old Coca-Cola commercials. Santa Claus shares a Coke with some polar bears. I'm sure that has nothing to do with my dream. I don't remember what the bear in my dream looked like, but I don't think it was a polar bear. Plus, Santa got terrified when he saw it. The two of them were not going to share a soda. So, yeah. No significant association comes to mind. Just a few quirky overlaps in pop culture.
I'm going to go with this is American biased. Because we'd say pop. My little soda pop. Okay. Do we have fear of bears?
Yeah, I am kind of afraid of bears. I mean, who wouldn't be? They're these massive, powerful creatures that could just swipe you away with one paw. I remember seeing a bear up close once at a zoo. Even behind the glass, it was intimidating. Hear all these stories about people encountering bears in the wild, and They're always terrifying. So yeah, I'm definitely a little wary of bears, but no more than anyone else.
That, I mean, that was before, like, AI. It was animation, wasn't it? Because we're talking, 20 years ago. All right, what else can we do? Fear and childhood.
Looking back, yeah, I had a few childhood fears that really stuck with me. One of the big ones was the dark.
Yeah.
Classic, right? I'd lie in bed, staring at the shadows, convinced that monsters were lurking just out of sight. My dad got me this nightlight shaped like a spaceship, and it helped a bit, but no, I'd still pull the covers over my head, thinking they were a magical shield or something. Oh, another one of my weirdest fears was quicksand. Yeah, I blame cartoons and older TV shows for that one. They kind of made it seem like surviving quicksand was this essential life skill everyone needed. Like you could just stumble into a pit of quicksand any day. No, I was genuinely worried that I'd run into quicksand on the playground or something.
Okay. Fear and father.
I was never really afraid of my dad.
Ah, lucky
He
you.
wasn't one of those stereotypical scary dads you see in movies or hear about from friends. He was more like this, big comforting presence. A few of my friends talked about their dads like they were scary. Oh, my college roommate was always nervous around hers. But not in the way you might think. He was actually pretty nice. It wasn't fear of him as a person. I think she was just obsessed with earning his approval. Yeah, she cared, probably to an unhealthy degree, about what he thought of her. It always felt a little out of character because she was so pragmatic about everything else. But then again, I think he might have been pretty rich, so maybe part of it was about not wanting to get cut off or left out of the will.
Ooh, friends. We got a new topic and a bloop. There we go. You were mostly afraid of flying a kite near power lines thanks to scary public information films. I don't think I ever saw anything about that. I'm trying to think what I developed fear. I mean, I was afraid of the dark, pretty much always. Obsessive about eggs being cooked all the way through because of the whole salmonella thing, like way back in the 80s. But that's a me thing rather than actually being valid right now. But yeah. Okay, so what's the last fear we've got? Are we afraid of Santa Claus?
All right, let's talk about fear in Santa Claus. Of all the mythical creatures I could dream about, I just don't get why I'd be afraid of Santa Claus. I mean,
stranger breaks
seriously,
into your home.
Santa is one of the only nice mythical creatures out there. The guy brings presents, eats cookies, and spreads joy. I mean, what is there to be scared of? Now, if I were walking around my house and saw Cthulhu or a Hydra, I'd totally get being scared. I mean, those are the kind of creatures that give you nightmares. Santa Claus just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't wrap my head around why my brain would pick him to be the scary one in my dreams.
I mean, Krampus. Certainly. And there's my bloop for mythical creatures. I mean, strange man breaks into your home. So I suppose leaves things rather than stealing them, but does eat your damn cookies. Okay, so I'm just going to do fear and everything, honestly. It's amusing. Fear and friends.
When I think of friends and fear, I always remember something I learned in school. Over half of all solved murders are committed by someone the victim knew. Usually a friend or someone who used to be one. And that's hard to forget once you hear it. At first, it sounds kind of scary, like maybe you should be suspicious of everyone you're close to. But really, it's just about proximity. People usually get hurt by someone in their own circle. Not because their friends are secretly out to get them, but because those are the people they're around the most. More time together means more chances for something to go wrong.
You see, I should have threatened to kill Dan when that was on, because that would have been funnier. Lesson of the day, talk to no one. I know, right? People are scary. Should really stop talking about killing people on my stream. It's going to get flagged. Oh dear. Oh dear. Strike that. Block it. Edit. Alright. Fear of mythical creatures.
I have definitely been
Sorry,
scared
Dan.
of mythical creatures before. My dad was really into H.P. Lovecraft, so I got exposed to that stuff way earlier than I probably should have. I had a few nightmares about Cthulhu when I was a kid. I never actually saw him in the dreams, but I could feel him. Like something massive was just there watching me.
Okay, we have done all the fair ones. Alright, so mythical creature and bear. Speaking of fearing mythical creatures,
There are quite a few.
so Mr. Blobby!
mythical creatures tied to bears. Bugbears, yetis, druids. There's too many to name. As for the bear in my dream, I don't remember what it looks like, so it could be anything from a yeti to a panda. I always wake up the instant I see it, so I never get a good look at it.
It's Felicia Day, Havor. But also hi, Havor. But yeah, Felicia Day. So no wonder she looks familiar. Sadly, it's not Ashlyn Diaz. Though there is another Dr. Decker coming, and I believe she's in that one. So she's a full-on geek. She was in like the Dragon Age TV show, and has voices the date Viators and Date Everything. Oh, I don't know if she's done any FMV. The fake redheads are available. I don't know if she's done any FMV games before, but I think that's cool. I like that she's in here, I guess, just because it probably gives it a bit more, pizzazz. Oh, I love Dr. Horrible. Still have the one of the songs from it as my ringtone. Probably should change that, considering, But yeah, it was in Buffy, Supernatural. The Guild was a whole thing. Yeah, the Guild could use an FM. That would be cool. Dr. Horrible. Oh yeah, the Dragon Age thing. Yeah, she was in Buffy. She was one of the potentials in the final season. She was very young then. She was also in another one of those. Funny. She was in another one of the supernatural-esque, but I can't think off the top of my head what show I'm trying to think of. Give me a moment while I'm going to be it. And actually, let's put another one on. What should we do? Friends and mythical creatures. Dollhouse, yes. But that wasn't what I was thinking of.
All my friends are humans, other than my dog, Spock.
Yes.
Back in high school, though,
Magicians.
I knew a girl named Lilith who was really into mythical stuff. She was always talking about how she wanted to summon Cthulhu to bring about the end of days. She was pretty dark and had this whole vibe like she thought she was an actual witch. She wasn't really a friend, more of an acquaintance, but she definitely stood out. None of my current friends believe in that stuff. I mean, we might play some video games with fantastic creatures, but yeah, that's about it.
Yep, it was the magicians. Thank you, Havor. Yeah, she was into dragons. Yeah. That's my key to stretch. She voiced Betty in Adventure Time. She was the voice of Athena in Stray Gods as well. She was in The Rookie for 2 episodes. I will do that in a minute. She's been in The Owl House. Yeah, Supernatural was the thing. She was Charlie. Magicians was the one I was thinking of. She voiced Violet in Monster Prom. I've been playing that recently. The mythical creatures reminded me of that. Thank you, because I was like, it's something like Supernatural. Probably as well. I'm just sort of scanning for stuff that I've seen. But yeah, the librarians. She was also a voice in a couple episodes of Welcome to Night Vale, if you've played that, if you've listened to that podcast. But yeah, quite a lot of stuff. She was in a town called Eureka for like 18 episodes. But she's the voice of Talus in Dragon Age. And Dragon Age 2, Mark of the Assassin DLC. And then the TV show. I mean, yes, she was in the Guild, but I didn't know that she created, produced that. I just know her from that. She has been in a lot of things. A Laura things. 25 years in TV. Bellius! I do my stretch and my hydrate. A lot of nerdy shows, yeah, a lot of cartoon voices. Either which way. Okay, what else can we pair mythical creatures with? School!
I didn't really learn much about mythical creatures in school. Most of what I know about them came from my dad. He's super into fantasy and sci-fi, so...
That's the next one, then.
He'd always tell me about all sorts of mythical beings. Yeah, school was more about the usual subjects: math, science, history. I do remember reading about Beowulf in English class, though. That epic battle with Grendel, it stuck with me. That's about it for the school. The rest I just learned at home.
All right, mythical creatures and father. But yeah, we're trying to figure out why we have nightmares about Santa Claus and a bear.
My dad was a huge fan of anything fantasy related. Growing up, our house was filled with books and movies about all sorts of mythical creatures. One of his favorites was Bigfoot. He loved to pretend Bigfoot was real and that he knew him. It was this running joke for him, always claiming he met up with Bigfoot after work or that they went fishing together. As much as he found it hilarious, I hated it when my parents told lies like that. I mean, I felt the same way about Santa Claus. I just don't get why parents lie to their kids like that.
Yes, women would always choose the bear. I have a t-shirt that says choose the bear. Unless it's the 25th of December. Honestly, probably still choose the bear. Do not want strange man breaking into my house. Okay, mythical creatures and Santa Claus.
Oh, Santa's not just a mythical creature. He is an overpowered one. He delivers presents to every house in one night, which puts him in speedster territory. No wonder he needs all those cookies, right? He's burning through calories faster than the Flash. He is also immortal, never ages, never dies, just keeps going year after year in the same outfit like a superhero. But the real game breaker is the naughty or nice list. He tracks the moral behavior of every kid on Earth. That has to be either omniscience or global telepathy. Even the most powerful telepaths in all of fiction can't read minds on a global scale. I'd say Santa's Omega level for sure.
Maybe he's got one of them dome things like Professor X. I'm just in your comment, Leaky. Yes. Yes, that could also be a thing. All right, let's do mythical creatures and toys.
When I was a kid, I had this really cool Pegasus toy from the movie Clash of the Titans. Yeah, it was one of my favorites. I just forgotten about it until you just asked. Oh, and then there were my He-Man toys. Are we counting those guys as mythical creatures? I mean, there's no real merman or Skeletor. Where's the cutoff on what's considered mythical? They're all made up as part of some kind of lore. Does lore from a 1980s cartoon count?
That is a really good question. All right, childhood and mythical creatures.
I never believed in mythical creatures, even as a child. My parents used to pretend such creatures existed, like Santa, the Tooth Fairy, even Bigfoot. I've always hated it when parents lie to their kids like this. It's just setting them up for disappointment. I remember this one time in first grade, a classmate had his tooth fall out.
In Bangkok.
His parents told him to put it under his pillow and the Tooth Fairy would come and bring him money. Sure enough, the next morning, he had $1. The next day at school, this kid spent all of recess trying to knock more of his teeth out to get more money. He didn't succeed, but still, that's why you shouldn't lie to your kids. Only bad things can come from it, you know? It's all fun and games until your kid is trying to punch out his own teeth for some spare change.
I mean, at least he was trying to punch out his own teeth and not stealing other kids' teeth, because that's where my mind went. Okay, what does Santa go with? School.
When I think of schools and Santa, there isn't much correlation between the two. I mean, school was always closed for about 2 weeks around Christmas, so Santa was more of a home thing.
I like the bookcase.
To me, holidays in general just meant a break from school. When I was young, it wasn't about the festivities as much as it was about getting some time off from classes and homework. Bye, school.
Someone curated those books. All right, school and bear. Though, to be fair, we probably get the same clip.
I already told you about those bear scares at school, right?
A follow-up.
When they'd cancel recess because a bear was spotted nearby? I mean, honestly, there wasn't much more of a connection between bears and school. We never even saw the bear. For me, it was just an excuse to stay indoors where it was warm.
Right, school and friends?
Yeah, in college, my only real friend was my roommate, Sophia. We both kept to ourselves, so our friend group never really grew beyond the two of us. It wasn't that we didn't get along with other people. We just weren't that social. And honestly, that worked just fine for us. Our curriculum kept us pretty busy, so there wasn't time for much else. Anyway.
Sophia. Oh-ho. Right, okay. So friends. All right, hang on. What else goes with school? School and fun. I mean, we only really need to unlock the things, but I also want to hear everything. So, toys and Santa Claus. If you have preferences for wanting to hear stuff, let me know.
But now they just don't appeal to me anymore. It's not just because I'm an adult. I almost resent the whole concept for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm just becoming cranky as I get older.
Okay. I reject the supposition that toys are just for kids. I may not play with them the same, but I don't think I ever did as a kid. But Lego and like soft squishy things, they're equally for adults, and I have adult money to buy them with. If I want to buy a giant marshmallow Baymax, I can. I have, and it's sitting on my bookcase. I don't know why it's up there. It looks kind of cool. I think I just ran out of room. I'll have to get him on stream at some point, but I'm not going to try and get him down right now. Everything will fall over. Okay, let's find out about Sophia and fear. Try and unlock some extra
Sophia
boxes.
was one of those people who never seemed afraid of anything. But man, Well, she's safety-minded and cautious. She always carried pepper spray and even talked me into doing the same. She was the one who made sure we kept the blinds closed and the doors locked, no matter what. Yeah. Sophia taught me to always be aware of my surroundings. I mean, it wasn't like she was paranoid or anything. She just had a better understanding of the dangers in the world than I did.
Alright, apparently the first one that people usually unlock is called Mother. So let's do Father and Childhood and we might get Mother. Also, is that kid's
My dad was
foot
always
falling off or
really
is that a
bad.
football?
He was also pretty nerdy, which made growing up with him a lot of fun in its own unique way. We always had the latest game consoles and gadgets in the house. He loved technology. He was always excited to share it with us. He wasn't the type of dad who could fix a car himself or take me fishing. In fact, no, I remember one time when we had a flat tire and the two of us spent an hour trying to change it before giving up and just calling roadside assistance. But, yeah, that's fine. Being able to change a tire isn't what makes someone a good dad.
Nope, that did not make Mum. Okay. Childhood and Santa Claus?
My mom
Aha, there we go.
loved taking me to see Santa every year, usually right after Thanksgiving. She'd dress me up in some kind of cute festive outfit. And we'd get to the mall, and there'd be this massive line of kids, and all squirming and excited. And she'd chat with me, telling me how I should ask Santa for what I really wanted and not to be shy. And when it was finally my turn, I'd climb up onto Santa's lap, feeling this mixture of awe and slight fear. Yeah, there's something a little intimidating about being face to face with this larger-than-life figure who supposedly knows if you've been naughty or nice all year. Yeah.
There we go. Mother. Where's Ray? I don't know what's in this box. What else can we pair with Santa Claus? Santa and Sophia.
Sophia used to put up this small Christmas tree in our dorm room every year, complete with decorations. Yeah, it was kind of nice, actually. I wasn't much into the whole decorating thing myself, but seeing that little tree did kind of give me a cozy feel.
Hi, Lady Magritte. Sorry, I was just waving because I'm trying not to talk over Felicia. We're trying to... Oh, you've played this, I think. Trying to unlock stuff. The first one I unlocked was school. And then it was either friends or mythical creatures next. And then I unlocked Sophia, and I was like, most people have unlocked Mother. I did not do the obvious connections to start with. I'm like, I'm starting with fear.
When I think of my mother and fear, one memory always stands out. My mother had a deep, intense fear. You see, we had this shed out in the back of our yard that we weren't allowed to go anywhere near under any circumstances. We just called it the shed. My mother was always terrified of it for some reason. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. That would be creepy though, right? I'm sorry. I don't know why I said it. I don't know. This whole thing is just awkward for me. I've never talked to any kind of therapist before. Okay, I promise to take it seriously. No more shed jokes. Okay, a real answer. What comes to mind when I think of my mother in fear? Probably death, if I'm being honest. Because my mom died when I was young, and my younger brother died a few years later.
Bleeding heck.
It felt like she started a chain reaction of death that had me worried. Anyone I knew could pass away at any time. It was a constant underlying fear I had growing up.
Okay, now I want to know how the brother died. Why did we not get... Alright, mother and father. I want to know how the brother died.
You want to hear about my parents? Well, my parents had 2 kids. Me and my much younger brother, Tommy. Our family dynamic changed drastically when my mother died of cancer when I was still a kid.
Okay.
Losing her was incredibly hard on all
Fuck
of us.
cancer.
After her death, I became the only older female adult in Tommy's life, so I took on a role that was part older sister, part parent. My dad worked a lot to provide for us, which meant I was left looking after Tommy pretty often. It wasn't always easy, yeah, but I was all he had, so I did my best to look out for him. Our dad worked a lot, but he was there for us as much as possible. He made sure we had everything we needed, and yeah, he spent time with us whenever he could.
Still no Tommy. Okay, alright. Toys and daddy.
My dad definitely had some toys of his own. He was a big fan of TV and movies and was especially obsessed with the original Star Trek series.
Woohoo!
He even owned several props from the show, including Leonard Nimoy's tricorder and Walter Koenig's phaser. Those props were like sacred artifacts in our home. He always said we couldn't touch them because they were collector's items, but I knew they were really just Dad's very expensive toys. My younger brother Tommy always tried to talk me into letting him play with them whenever we were left at home alone. I started telling him it was too dangerous because they were real and actually worked. He was only 5, so he believed me. It's funny. I always kind of resented it when my parents told me that kind of lie, but as soon as I was left in charge of my brother, I did the same thing to him. I'm a little disappointed in myself for that.
TV movies. Okay. I'm wondering if her brother died as a result of one of those lie things. Alright. Toys. Mother.
My mom had this really nice camera and a whole set of lenses for it. And this was back when cameras used film. She even had all this equipment to develop the film
Some
at
still do.
home. Before she had a family, she used to be a photographer. Yeah, she always said that she had no regrets about giving up photography when she had us, but, you know, as an older child, I always felt it was kind of my fault she had to quit. She had all her gear and used it every chance she got. She even taught me how to develop film. We used to cover up all the windows in our bathrooms and use it as a darkroom. My mother never much watched TV. Well, except Shark Week. She never missed that. She had this fascination with sharks and always said she loved them, but watching a shark on TV was the only safe way to observe one.
Okay. Fear TV. Probably
It's
not
funny
though, Dan.
because I was never really scared by horror movies, but there was one thing that did scare me. An episode of The Muppet Show. They did this bit where Dr. Honeydew and Beaker built a machine that you could use to transform a cat into a dog by placing it on a conveyor belt and sending it through. As if that wasn't horrifying enough on its own, a cat got stuck in the machine, and Dr. Honeydew reached in to push it through. When he pulled his arm out, his forearm had turned into a live dog that started attacking him. Meanwhile, a giant tiger attacked Beaker for some reason. They played it for laughs, but dear God, that was a horrifying scenario. I I have no idea what they were thinking when they wrote it. It was meant to be funny, but it was nightmare fuel for me. It didn't actually, give me nightmares. That's just an expression. But yeah, that episode did leave a lasting impression.
Pink Panther. There was an episode where the Pink Panther, I forget why, but he folded up this wall, smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, like put salt on it and then ate it, and it started unfolding, and then suddenly the Pink Panther was expanding pink. That gave me nightmares, actual nightmares for ages. There was also an episode of Star Trek with the salt-sucking monsters. Don't know why they gave me nightmares, but they did. But they were in the credits for so many episodes after. And Beetlejuice. Enough said. Was the turning the head inside out and sticking the eyes on the fingers. Nothing else, just that. Okay, TV and movie and spit.
Sophia was a total film buff, especially when it came to movies from the 70s and 80s. She always said that was the golden age of cinema. Because of her, I'm pretty familiar with films from that time. Oh, we watched a ton of them together in our dorm room. Every time she found out about a critically acclaimed movie from that period I hadn't seen, she'd make sure we watched it together.
Aww.
Now it almost feels like I minored in film studies in college thanks to her. I only met Sophia's mom once. There was this one time when her parents picked her up and took her to some fancy restaurant. I only got to talk to her mom for a bit, but what stuck with me was, she just had this incredible fashion sense. She looked super stylish. Also, she got some pretty old school values. I could tell Sophia really got along with her.
Okay, mother and friends.
When I think
If
of my
they're
mother and
Chromebook kids.
friends, it's a bit of a blur. I didn't really know her friends well, but she did spend a lot of time with them. She always devoted all her attention to us kids when we were together. But whenever Dad was home, she'd head out with her friends. I never really spent much time with both my parents. When they were together, come to think of it, I don't. Anyway, she was a great mom. She was always present and engaged when she was with us. But yeah, I'm glad she still found time to have a life of her own too. It's important to have that, have that balance.
Okay, friends and TV.
I was in line waiting to see Ready Player One when I spotted a coworker, Scott, waiting in line with his girlfriend. I never really talked to him much before that, and we started chatting, and it turned out he was just as nerdy as I am. They're now my two closest friends.
The book was better. Oh, we got a new person though. Scott. Alright, Scott and Fear. I'm doing everything in fear.
Now, I would never be afraid of Scott. Out of all the people I know, he is probably the person I feel safest around. I trust him completely. Plus, he's a homicide detective, so
Oh, wow.
he probably knows how to handle any dangerous situation.
Okay, alright. Scott and Sophia.
Scott and Sophia never met. I was pretty tight with Sophia back in college, but we totally lost touch afterwards. I haven't talked to her since before I even met Scott, so no, their paths never crossed.
Mythical creatures and Scott.
Scott doesn't believe in any kind of fantasy creatures. He's never really mentioned any. He's never really cosplayed as anything mythical, only human characters. He usually picks human characters in video games too, except for World of Warcraft. In that, he plays an elf druid. His druid character does turn into a bear for combat, so there's another bear connection. But I am positive I'm not dreaming about Scott's druid character in bear form. The bear in my dream is rustling around making noise. Druids don't do that. Plus, his bear is huge. The bear in my dream is really small.
Ah, more information.
Oh, right. I remember a little more. My bear is definitely small. Santa is looking down towards it when he gets scared, not up. And I don't really remember what it looks like, but at the moment I see it, I just get hit with this overwhelming terror and the dream ends. Yeah, I just wake up with my heart racing.
Honestly, I'm having premonitions that the brother died at Christmas. Probably not killed by a bear, but by doing something because the parents had done those whole, lies that are supposedly for the kids' benefit thing. And or there's some sort of metaphor for dad in there, but, So that's really where I'm going with that. But yeah, nightmares are being had.
Sophia never believed in mythical creatures. She always said ghosts and vampires are made up, but there really are plenty of scary monsters in the world. They just all happen to be human.
Now I've got today's the day the teddy bears had their picnic stuck in my head. Thanks, brain.
This one's a little embarrassing. After my mom died, I convinced myself her ghost was still in the house, watching over all of us.
Normal.
I used to talk to her when no one else was around. I was still a little kid at the time, and normally, I was smart enough not to believe in made-up things, but I had a really hard time coping with her death, so I just let myself believe it. It was my way of dealing with her loss. I remember sitting in a chair, clutching her blanket, and whispering about my day as if she was still there listening. It felt comfortable and made the house feel less empty. Oh, there are so many cool mythical creatures on TV and movies. I could go on forever. Movies like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
No!
Had a ton. Movies like Clash of the Titans showcased classical creatures from Greek mythology. And I watch a lot of TV shows with mythical creatures too, like Game of
You've
Thrones.
starred in them.
I love any TV show about the supernatural. Honestly, I can't even think of any specific creatures that stand out above the rest. There's just too many to choose from. It'd be impossible to pick a favorite.
Okay, this game loses a star for mentioning that. Okay, so let's go back to the bear.
I can't think of a single connection between Sophia and a bear. I mean, she never mentioned one to me, and she didn't even have a teddy bear. She did have a stuffed raccoon that kind of looked like a bear, though. We had this running joke about how the raccoon was a criminal, and she kept him around to study the criminal mind. It was only funny because he was just really cute. Scott and bears? Oh, yeah, that one's an easy one. Scott has this running gag about bears. Every time we work on a case together and there's any sign of a struggle, he asks if I think a bear did it. And it started when we were discussing an autopsy where the victim was clearly shot. Scott, completely straight-faced, asked if I thought it was a bear attack. And ever since then, he sneaks in bear jokes whenever he can. It's ridiculous, but it lightens the mood in a job that can get pretty heavy. So, yeah, bears and Scott are definitely linked in my mind because of his goofy sense of humor.
I like how it's evolving, and she's like at the bottom ones, this level, she's like hugging the pillow, and she starts getting, I haven't got anything in this line, but she starts getting a little more comfortable. But But the top, she's like sitting quite straight.
When I think of friends and bears, I can't help but recall how anytime any of my friends or I saw some rustling in the bushes, our first thought was always that it could be a bear. Bears were just ingrained into us as a symbol of unknown danger from the time we were kids. Our school would cancel outdoor recess anytime someone saw the slightest movement in the woods, even though there was at most a 1% chance it was actually a bear. It was almost a reflex that anything moved in the bushes had to be a bear. And in reality, I've never once seen a bear in real life outside of a zoo. Sophia didn't have a ton of friends. It's not like she couldn't make friends. She got along with everyone. She just didn't seem to have much interest in hanging out with other college kids. She wasn't the kind of person who suffered fools. It took months of being roommates before the two of us just really started being friends. Oh, Scott is a huge Trekkie, and seriously into Star Wars too, and a big fan of superhero movies. We actually met while waiting in line to see Ready Player One. We'd worked together before, and I'd seen him around the office, but we never really talked until that day in line.
Well,
It's
if
kind
he's
of
a
like our
cop,
shared
then
love
that means
for nerdy stuff finally,
she works
brought
in
us
the
together.
Okay.
Scott grew up in New Orleans. Yeah, I didn't know him back then, so all I have are the bits and pieces he shared. He played football in high school, but he didn't think he was any good at it. He loved Mardi Gras as a kid. Yeah, that's all I really know about his childhood.
Let's be nosy.
I never met Scott's mom. She passed away before I met him. Scott's dad is this hard-nosed, old-school type, while Scott himself is this fun, geeky guy who's into comic books and video games and Star Trek. I always assumed he got those traits from his mom, but I could be wrong. Scott's father was a detective too, and he retired a few years back. He worked in homicide and was known for solving a few pretty high-profile cases. Scott told me about how his dad cracked a major organized crime ring back in the day, which was a huge deal in their department. He and Scott, they have this tradition of meeting up every Sunday for breakfast. Scott's always saying he learned everything he knows from his dad, right down to the bad coffee habit and the terrible jokes. Oh, Scott has this obsession with Funko Pops. He doesn't have shelves full of them or anything, but he is fixated on completing a few specific sets. It's like a personal side quest he refuses to abandon. I don't get the appeal, but I get how important it is to him.
You are a Funko Pop.
Scott's got a ton of friends. I mean, seriously, most of my friends are just really Scott's friends. We all hang out together, but only when Scott's around. Actually, it kind of gets almost awkward when I'm with them and Scott's not there. If I'm being real, most of them are kind of jerks. That's probably why Scott's so good at making friends. He's just way less picky than me.
We've got a new person, Sarah. Okay, so we need Fair and Sarah, and then mythical creatures, and then just do stuff
There
until we
was
unlock
one
things.
time I was kind of scared of Sarah, but it was only once. We were getting ready for Comic-Con, showing off our cosplay costumes. I was dressed as Doctor Strange, feeling all cool and magical. Then Scott comes out dressed as Captain Kirk, and Sarah comes out as Samara Morgan, the creepy girl from The Ring. You know the one with the long black hair and the white dress that crawls out of the TVs to kill you. Something about seeing them in costume just triggered this panic attack. I've only had a few of those in my whole life, but man, it was embarrassing. I'm not a very good Doctor Strange if I can't handle even seeing the girl from The Ring, right?
Maybe, of course, it's going to trigger things like that.
Sarah's a curator at a museum. I know it's kind of embarrassing since she's one of my best friends, but I've never actually been to that museum, and I don't know a thing about it. It could be packed with exhibits about mummies and griffins and all kinds of mythical creatures, or it could just be an art museum with nothing but paintings and sculptures. Honestly, I just have no clue. Sarah's never pushed me to go, probably because she knows museums aren't really my thing.
Okay, what do we got left with Scott? Cool.
Scott's always going on about his time at the police academy, but here's the twist. None of his stories are true. The guy just recites scenes from the police academy movies like that's what he went through. That's his sense of humor for you. So, thanks to all his jokes, I have no clue what his real experience was like. I don't know.
Okay, so we had Santa Claus, Scott, and I think that's nearly all the Scots. Till we get new stuff.
Scott and Santa Claus? Yeah, I can't think of any link between them. Scott isn't particularly big on Christmas or anything. At least not more than a normal person. He doesn't have a beard. He's not heavyset, and he has never mentioned Santa that I can remember. Yeah, there's really nothing about Scott that would make me think of Santa Claus. Sarah and Scott have been together for years, and honestly, they're just one of those couples that makes you believe in soulmates. They're both into a lot of the same stuff, like movies, conventions, and all of that, and they balance each other out just really well. Sarah's a planner, always making sure everything's organized, while Scott's more laid back and just goes with the flow. They're basically just perfect for each other. Sarah and Sophia never met, but they'd probably get along. They're both smart, no nonsense, and always on top of things. It's funny how I keep finding friends with the same type of personality, right? Sarah actually reminds me a lot of Sophia. Sophia wasn't really into toys. The only one she had was a single stuffed animal, a raccoon. I mean, she was just a really practical person. She was always more interested in useful things. She did have the newest iPhone and a high-end laptop.
Okay, toys and Sarah.
Sarah has got a thing for action figures and memorabilia. She's got stuff from every fandom you can think of. She's also into Funko Pops, just like Scott. Her prized piece is an original production puppet from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Ooh.
Which is cool.
Cool.
When I was a kid,
We're having a chill day.
toys and shows were basically the same thing. Most of the cartoons were just commercials for whatever toy line they were pushing. I had a bunch of that stuff. I remember I had 4 of 5 Voltron lions, but I never did complete the set. What really stands out is my dad's Star Trek props. He called them collectibles, but they were basically toys he was scared to touch because they were so expensive. He He had Leonard Nimoy's actual tricorder from the original series and Walter Koenig's prop phaser. He once tried to buy George Takei's foil at an auction, but he was outbid by quite a lot. When I think of friends and toys, I immediately think of my friends who are really into Funko Pops. They have these huge collections with shelves dedicated to all their favorite characters. And I'm not really into that stuff myself, but I did camp out with a friend outside a store once so they could get an extra one. There were like 2 releasing on the same day, but the store had a limit of 1 pop per person. It wasn't exactly my idea of fun, but I was helping a friend out.
Okay, friends and father.
When I was growing up, I didn't really think my father had any friends. I had a ton of uncles, so I thought he came from a really big family. It wasn't until I was older that I realized it was just a common thing in our area for parents to refer to their friends as aunt or uncle when talking to their kids.
That was weird. I remember that.
Pretty confusing. Apparently, a lot of parents in my area did that for some reason. I remember in first grade, everyone at school thought they were cousins with about a third of the class because of it. It's one of those weird lies parents tell their kids. I never understood why that's so common. Like, why did it end up being tradition to miseducate your kids in a very specific way when they're young? Like, what's the point of lying to your kids about Santa or the Tooth Fairy? I just don't get it.
Or that you have to eat your vegetables, you can't have dessert. Big lie. You totally can have dessert. Have a good walkies, by the way.
I had a teddy bear when I was very young. His name was Mr. Fuzzy. He was a soft brown bear with a red bow tie. And I took care of him like he was my child. I would tuck him into bed with me every night, make sure he was comfortable, and even talk to him about my day. He went everywhere with me. Car rides, family trips, you name it. Ride or die.
Toys and school. We'll have a break in like 10 minutes.
My first few years of school, maybe up to like 3rd or 4th grade, we were all about trading toys with other kids. It was like this mini economy with everyone making deals daily, trying to get something they really wanted instead of something they were sick of. I was really good at it. For me, it wasn't even about getting toys I wanted. The trading was the game. I would make any trade that got me something more valuable than what I started with, whether I wanted the thing or not. Then I would trade that for something more valuable, and then so on, and I'd end up trading a toy, getting it back, plus something extra, and trading it again. So, and so on. I had way more toys than I started with at the end. I didn't even care about the toys themselves. I was like a little Ferengi learning to master capitalism.
Okay, so Santa Claus and friends.
I'm not really sure if Santa has any actual friends. The elves always seemed more like employees, busy in the workshop, making toys. The reindeer, too, seemed more like co-workers and pals, just doing their job at pulling the sleigh. And sure, yeah, there's Mrs. Claus, but it always seemed like just the 2 of them up there on the North Pole. Yeah. I doubt that they had a very big social circle. It's hard to imagine Santa hosting a dinner party with anyone other than the elves and the reindeer, who, would probably still be talking shop the whole time. So, yeah, the idea of Santa having friends feels wrong. When I think about my mother and Santa, one of the first things that comes to mind is how she used to take me to the mall to sit on Santa's lap when I was a kid. And then, well, There's also that song, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus.
Oh, now it's in
Honestly,
my head.
It's such a weird song when you think about it. As a kid, I remember being really confused by it. Like, why is this kid spying on his mom, and why is Santa involved in this like bizarre scenario? The whole idea was kind of strange. It's one of those creepy songs that does not quite make sense, but it's become such a part of the Christmas culture that you just roll with it.
I think it was designed as a spoiler, I'll be perfectly honest. Some douche decided to release it in the hopes that kids would get singing it and then suspect things. I do not know who released
When
it. I
I think of
apologize if they're
TV
not a
in my
douche.
childhood, I mainly remember watching cartoons. My favorites were probably Transformers and Voltron. The annoying thing was, I couldn't really talk to my friends about them at school. Back then, there was this ridiculous stigma that girls had to watch girl cartoons like My Little Pony and Gem, and boys had to watch boy cartoons. It's the same archaic mindset that made boys feel like they couldn't own anything pink. So stupid. Things have improved a lot since then, but back in those days, I'd just sit there quietly listening to the boys talk about my favorite shows, wishing I could join the conversation. Sarah was one of those military brats who was always moving around, new state, new school, new friends every couple years. It sounds exhausting, right? She turned 18 while they were stationed in Louisiana and decided she liked it enough to stick around when her dad got reassigned. Yeah, so, she made Louisiana her home, and honestly, I think she's happier for it. I met Sarah while she was in line with Scott to see the same movie as me, and we instantly clicked. It turns out she's a total horror movie buff. She loves all that creepy, spooky stuff, which is so not my thing. But it's cool because she gets really into it. We've even had a few movie nights where she tried to get me into her favorite horror flicks, and they're usually not for me. I only like horror movies where there's a sci-fi element, like Aliens or Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where the kids had dream powers they could use to fight back against Freddy. Yeah. When I think about movies and school, the first thing that comes to mind is
I'm
how
sure I
much
can
I
finish
loved it
this
when the
today.
teacher would show up too tired to teach and just put a movie on instead. Those days felt like a huge break, almost like a day off. I remember one time in particular, my French teacher showed our class Liar, Liar dubbed in French over the span of a few days. It was hilarious, but I definitely didn't learn any French watching it. The day I left school early because my mom died is one I'll never forget.
No.
It was a typical school day, and I was just sitting in class, probably daydreaming or doodling in my notebook, when the teacher got a call. She told me to pack up my things because my dad was there to take me home. That never happened, so I knew something was up. I remember feeling this like knot in my stomach because it was so out of the ordinary. And as soon as I saw my dad's face, I knew something was seriously wrong. He looked completely shattered, like he'd aged like 10 years in a day. He didn't say much, he just said we needed to go home. That drive back just felt like forever, even though it only took a few minutes. Every second, it was filled with this like unbearable silence. And when he got home, he sat me down and he told me that Mom passed away. She was battling cancer, but I still wasn't prepared for the news. It was like the ground had been just pulled out from under me. We just sat there trying to trying to process what happened. It was like the world was just spinning.
Okay, we're going to have a short pause and have a break. So time to grab a drink, a snack, stretch, and I'll be back in a few. Right, what do we got left? Mother and childhood.
When I think about my mother and childhood, one memory that always sticks with me is the time I accidentally slammed the car door on her hand. I was really young at the time, but she had to go to the hospital and her pinky finger was messed up permanently.
Oops.
That memory haunts me to this day. Oh, that's an easy one. My dad was a huge Trekkie and took me to my first Star Trek convention. It was in Philadelphia, and it was also the first time I ever traveled outside of the immediate area, at least that I can remember. And it was also the first time I've ever been in a place where I had a shared interest with everybody else. It was awesome. I loved seeing the people walking around, dressed up in their Starfleet uniforms. We also got to watch The Trouble with Tribbles in a room packed full of other Trekkies. And then, topping the night off, we got to see William Shatner take the stage and give a talk that was surprisingly funny. There was this whole floor dedicated to selling Star Trek merchandise, but we didn't buy much there. Dad said all the really good stuff was sold at the live auction. He ended up buying a prop phaser from the original series. I don't remember how much he paid for it, but I remember my mom wasn't too pleased about it when we told her about it.
Oh, we got travel. Excellent. Okay, so travel and fear to me goes Final Destination.
I've never really been afraid to travel. There was this big fear of flying I had before I ever actually got on a plane, though. I built it up in my head as this terrifying experience, but once I was on my first airplane, I was completely fine. If I could, I'd travel all the time. Oh, there's just something so exciting about it. The only scary thing about traveling is paying for it. Oh, I mean, that's the real fear, watching your bank account drain as you book flights, hotel rooms, everything else. If it weren't for the cost, I would be on the road or in the air constantly.
To get famous.
When I think of my father in school, yeah, that's a pretty interesting mix. He always told us we should own our paths in life. He told us that we could even drop out of school if we wanted to, but only if we had a solid life plan that didn't require a high school diploma. He made it very clear that there are careers where it doesn't matter and ones where it does. Yeah, my brother Tommy tried to take him up on that. He told our dad he wanted to be a truck driver when he grew up, so he should just drop out of school. My dad didn't argue. No. Instead, he convinced Tommy that he'd be much happier as an airline pilot. And it worked like a charm. Tommy got hooked on the idea of flying planes, which, requires a college degree, so he gave up on the whole dropping out of school idea and, started focusing on his grades. Yeah. When I think about my father and travel, the first thing that comes to mind is how much we love going to conventions together. Yeah, it was our special thing, just me and him. My mom was never really into that stuff, so it was the perfect father-daughter bonding time. We'd pack up and head out to all sorts of conventions, Comic-Con, Star Trek conventions, you name it. He got me hooked. And now I still go to Comic-Con every year.
She could be talking about herself here. Oh, we got comic books. Excellent. Okay, where's comic books? Comic books. Why have we got nothing in the middle bit?
The only time I ever got scared from comic books was when characters had weird powers that messed up the laws of physics. Mirror Master, one of the Flash's enemies, he was one of the worst. He would trap people in a mirror world where everything is backwards. The trapped people could see our world, but they couldn't escape. And what really freaked me out was just thinking about being stuck in that world. I mean, everything is reversed, and you have to adjust your understanding of reality. Oof. In Doctor Strange, the mirror dimension with folding buildings is creepy, but it was just too abstract. It's that backwards mirror dimension that scared me because figuring out how it works means undoing everything I know about science. My dad was a huge casual fan of comic books. He loved comic book based movies, TV shows, and cartoons. He took me to some smaller comic book conventions a few times, and we just had a blast. He did everything except read the actual comic books. I don't even think he owned any. That's more my thing. For him, he just loved the worlds and somehow knew a lot about the major storylines from the comics. Yeah, but I've never seen him read an actual comic book, even once. Yeah, I met Sophia's dad a bunch of times. He would drive up to visit her pretty often. He's a really nice guy and always brought us little presents like little care packages of snacks and stuff he knew college kids could use. I never really figured out what he did for a living, but he was definitely doing well enough to cover Sophia's tuition and still spoil her. The only downside? His jokes. He was all about those dad jokes and terrible puns. And when he wasn't around, we'd joke about how his humor was the price we had to pay for the gifts he brought. Santa Claus has popped up in a ton of comics over the years. In the X-Men, there's actually a version of Santa who's one of the most powerful mutants. I always thought that was a cool twist. And then there's that other comic where someone hires Deadpool to kill Santa. That one was just weird, but hey, it's Deadpool, so what do you expect? When I think of Santa and travel, well, the logistics of him delivering presents all over the world in one night never made any sense to me. Who came up with this stuff? It is baffling that we tell our kids these elaborate stories that don't even have a shred of plausibility. I mean, flying reindeer, a sleigh that defies the laws of physics, and a guy who somehow fits down chimneys? How did this become such a commonly accepted tradition? It's one of those things that the more you think about it, the less sense it makes. Yes, it's a story we all grow up with and pass on, even though it's completely outlandish. I don't know.
We have a few more things. We still have got nothing from the third row. We're just working our way through things.
The biggest connection in my mind between Sarah and Santa, it's her holiday invites. She's got the nicest apartment, so on Christmas and Thanksgiving, a few of us all gather there. She decorates for Christmas, puts up a tree and decorations. She doesn't go overboard because her place is still kind of small. My new apartment is actually bigger than hers. Yeah, maybe I should start hosting. I'll talk to Sarah about it and see what she thinks. When I think of TV and movies and Santa, the first things that come to mind are those classic holiday movies like Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah. Watching them as a kid, it was a holiday tradition in our house. There's something so nostalgic about those old stop-motion animations. Yeah, I've always had mixed feelings about Frosty the Snowman, though. It's a classic. I loved watching it as a kid, but that magic hat always freaked me out a bit. I couldn't help but wonder what would happen if they put it on something else, like a mannequin. Would it come to life too? And what if they made a dog? Dog out of snow? I don't. Instead of
they literally made a movie
snowman,
called
would
Snow
that-
Dog. So
Will we have a snow dog running around? I don't know. I tend to think of weird things like that. Sorry.
thought I'd get biscuits. Okay, Santa's all done. Bear.
When I think about my mother and bears, I mostly think of how much she loved zoos. She used to take me all the time when I was a kid, and most of them had bear exhibits. Zoos are actually the only place I've seen a bear other than on TV. There used to be a Care Bears comic book. I don't know anything about it, honestly. The only reason I even know about it is because I had an issue when I was young. I don't know where I got it. I don't remember much about it. I don't remember what the bear in my dream looked like, but it better not have been a Care Bear.
I remember the
Being
Care
scared
Bear
of
movie
Santa
was pretty
Claus is bad
scary.
enough, but being terrified of a Care Bear? That would just be too much. When I think of TV shows and movies and bears, two very different characters come to mind. Yogi Bear and Cocaine Bear. Hear me out. I watched Yogi as a kid. I like how they had him and Boo Boo trying to steal picnic baskets instead of trying to eat people. That is a nice way to make bears more family friendly. And then there's Cocaine Bear. Now, that's a completely different take on bears. I saw it a few years ago. I'd say it was crazy enough to give me nightmares, but weirdly, even though I never see the bear in my dream, I just get this strong feeling that it's closer to Yogi or Boo Boo than it is to Cocaine Bear. I don't really understand why I get so afraid when I see it. Seriously, when I spot this bear in my dream, I feel the most intense terror I have ever felt in my life.
It's got to be about
it's
the
really
brother.
bad.
It's small bear. It's got to be a stand-in for the brother.
When I think of travel and a bear, I can't help but remember this road trip my mom took me on. We went to this tiny zoo in some small town nobody's ever heard of because they had a new panda exhibit. The trip went so badly, it was almost funny. I mean, sure, the zoo did have pandas, but almost every other animal they had were animals people commonly keep as pets, like snakes, ferrets, and rabbits. It was like we drove all that way just to visit a glorified pet store. And to top it off, it was the middle of winter, so the zoo was freezing. We were bundled up like we were trekking through the Arctic and yet still freezing.
Right. Whoa, first one on this line. All right, pets and fair.
No, I've never been afraid of any pets. It's not like I have friends with giant pit bulls or anything. I did get a dog about 8 months ago, though. His name is Spock. It's the first time I've had a pet as an adult. I guess I'm afraid of not taking care of him properly. I mean, I might not be the best person to look after an animal, that's all. I don't know anyone who has a pet bear. I mean, seriously, who looks at a giant clawed beast and thinks, yeah, I want that lounging around my living room? I did have a teddy bear once. That was a big deal when I was little, like 5. Mr. Fuzzy was his name, and he went everywhere with me. Yeah, but let's be real. I'm not 5 anymore, and Mr. Fuzzy's days of being my constant companion are long gone.
Hey, Jesse.
It's funny how something so important to you as a kid can just fade into the background as you grow up. Kind of like those childhood fears about monsters under the bed. Now the only monsters I worry about are the ones sending me emails on my day off. Santa's pets? Well, everybody knows about his reindeer, right? But here's the thing. Should they really be called reindeer? Real reindeer don't have magical powers, they can't fly, and they definitely don't haul around a sleigh full of presents at light speed. So clearly, these are some sort of mythical creatures, just like Santa himself. I think they deserve their own name. Think about it. If you encountered a magic flying reindeer that wasn't one of Santa's, what would you call it?
A magic
It's like
flying
finding
reindeer.
a unicorn and calling it a magical horse. It just doesn't capture the essence, you know? Yeah. I mean, these creatures are doing something. They're doing some serious work. One night a year, and I think they should get a little more recognition than just being lumped in with a regular reindeer. Let's give credit where credit's due, okay?
Hey, Scruff.
If I could have any mythical creature as a pet, yeah, dragon would be at the top of my list. Imagine having a dragon. Not only could it fly you around, it would also be the ultimate protection. No one is messing with you if you got a dragon hanging around. Another cool one would be a phoenix. It's like having a built-in reset button for your pet. Every time it gets old or injured, it just bursts into flames and comes back good as new. Plus, they're pretty and would definitely be a good conversation starter. Unicorns would be pretty awesome as well. Not only are they, beautiful and magical, but they're also supposed to have healing powers. Plus, who wouldn't want to have a unicorn grazing in their yard?
Think about the poop.
There's really no strong link between Sarah and a bear. The best I can think of is one time she got a hoodie with little bear ears on the hood. Scott started calling her Mama Bear when she wore it. I thought she liked the nickname, but she stopped wearing it after a few weeks, and I haven't seen it since, so yeah, maybe she didn't. Sarah really isn't into comic books, but she goes to Comic-Con with me and Scott every year. She's more about the movie panels and the merchandise, but she tags along with us to the comic panels sometimes. She really, really gets into the cosplay, but all of her costumes so far have been movie characters. A few comic book characters have pets that join them in fighting crime, usually with the same powers as their owners. Superman has Krypto, the superpowered dog. Batman has Ace the Bat Hound. Supergirl has her super cat Streaky. Maybe I should try training my Chihuahua to help me fight crime. Nah, I don't think that'd work. But who knows? He might surprise me. Oh. 1 year in grade school, we had a class pet, a guinea pig. We got it right at the beginning of the year, and I don't even think we named the poor thing. A couple of months into the school year, we came in on a Monday morning, and it was just gone.
Oh no.
our teacher casually told us it died over the weekend, so she got rid of it, just like that. But here's the kicker. The empty cage stayed in the classroom for weeks. You'd think the teacher
Ooh.
would have gotten rid of that, too, when she got rid of the guinea pig. But nope. The cage stuck around for, I don't know, an extra month. It was like a constant reminder of our failed attempt at pet ownership.
Looks amazing, Scruff. Looks amazing.
Scott doesn't have any pets, which is probably for the best because he and my dog Spock do not get along.
Spock's
The
a
only people who
chihuahua.
ever come over to my apartment are Scott and Sarah. Spock loves Sarah, but he barks at Scott a lot. And I think it's like a territorial thing since they're both male. I don't know. It's kind of funny to watch, though, honestly. I go to San Diego Comic-Con with Scott and Sarah every year. Those two were already going annually, and I'm just glad they talked me into joining them. We always split a double room, which saves a lot of money. And, plus it's nice because we can help each other get into cosplay and keep track of our schedules. Yeah, we make a pretty good team. I went on a trip once with Scott to a Star Trek convention in Denver. His girlfriend Sarah isn't into Star Trek, so she didn't want to come. And it was not awkward at all. Scott and I are like siblings, and all three of us know it, so Sarah had no issue with us going alone. The only travel Sarah does that really affects me are our annual trips to Comic-Con. Other than that, she goes on work trips a few times a year since she's a museum curator. I don't know all the details, but I know some of the trips are for acquisitions and some for exhibitions. She told me once that she likes one and hates the other, but I can't actually remember which. Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit envious. Her trips take her all around the world, and I've never even left the country. Sarah's mom passed away when she was pretty young. It's something we both share, losing our moms early. We don't talk about it much, but it's comforting to have someone who just gets it. My mom didn't know much about comic books, but she knew I liked them, so every now and then she'd buy me one as a surprise. The thing is, though, she'd always pick out the weirdest, most random comics like Heathcliff or The Muppets Go Medieval. It was this funny little dance I'd have to do, pretending to like them just enough to be polite, but not so much that she'd keep buying more. I've always had friends who are into comic books. I mean, that's how people become friends, right? Shared interests. One of the more memorable moments was at college when I got this mysterious box. Inside was the entire Neil Gaiman Sandman series and a note saying it was from a friend. Total mystery. Enough people I knew that I hadn't read the Sandman, but I could never figure out who sent it. There were plenty of suspects, but no one ever fessed up. It's a case I never cracked. Sophia wasn't really into comic books. She knew the big names, but that was about it. It was one of the few things I actually knew more about than she did, which was kind of refreshing. Most of the time, she was the expert on everything. But when it came to superheroes and storylines, that was my territory. No, Sophia didn't have any pets. Pets weren't allowed in our dorm, so that was a no-go. But she did have this cute little stuffed raccoon she kept on her desk. I liked it.
That's the third time I've heard
Sophia
about
was
this damn
all
raccoon.
no nonsense most of the time, and that raccoon was proof that she had a softer side. My father once bought us a robot dog. We had to get rid of our real dogs because my younger brother Tommy turned out to be allergic. Yeah, it was a really sad day when we had to let him go, but my dad thought that a robot dog would be a great substitute. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. This thing was like hilariously bad. I mean, it was a long time ago, and robots and computers weren't nearly as advanced as they are today. The robot dog would bark at random times, and its mechanical legs, barely moved. It had this weird habit of just spinning in circles. It was like a toy that couldn't decide if it was broken or just possessed. We spent more time laughing at it than actually playing with it. Yeah, it was like watching a low-budget sci-fi movie. Like, it was entertaining, but for all the wrong reasons. I bet a robot dog today would be way more fun to have around. Technology has come a very long way since then.
Should have got rid of Tommy. Sorry, I was not paying attention to what that was in reference to. Tommy is her dead brother. We haven't found out what happened to Tommy yet.
My friend Sarah doesn't have a dog, but she does this thing where every time she sees a cute dog, she takes a picture of it. Instead of posting it on Instagram like a normal person, she texts it to a small group of us. No context, no explanation, just a photo of some random dog on the street.
Thanks. I missed that step.
Every few weeks
I just heard robot dog and I was,
I have no complaints. When you're a kid, your friend options are basically limited to whoever in your class or whoever lives next to you. That is it. You don't get to be picky. If someone happens to like the same things you do, that's your friend now. Doesn't matter if they're annoying, if you have nothing else in common, shared interests, that's all it took. For me, it was sci-fi and video games. If another kid liked Star Trek or happened to be playing the same video game I was, that was enough. We were friends, at least until the next school year.
Now we got gaming. Gaming and fear. Everything in fear.
All right, so I've got this weird fear, right? Like those MC Escher-like things that can't really happen. The endless staircases, the impossible architecture, all that trippy stuff. It freaks me out. I can't.
So not Monument Valley then.
So naturally, this makes it hard for me to finish a lot of games. I'll just be cruising along, having a great time, and then bam, I'm in some bizarre, twisted world where up is down, left is right. I'm out. I'm done.
Troll wouldn't work.
It's like my brain just goes, nope, we are not doing this. I mean, I can deal with zombies, aliens, even the occasional psycho clown, but throw in an endless staircase or a room that defies the laws of physics, I'm out.
Would not like Talos Principle.
But hey, we all have our things. I just wish mine wasn't in so many video games.
You just gotta suspend disbelief. Toys and travel. Interesting combination.
I go to Comic-Con every year with my friends. For them, it's all about buying toys. They hit the exhibit floor hard, hunting for exclusive figures and collectibles. They get really into it. mapping out their plan of attack to make sure they snag everything on their wish list. Well, I do like browsing the floor. I'm not obsessed with the toys like they are. They just gotta have their pops. I stopped liking toys in middle school. Actually, I started really hating them. It was right around the time my brother died. We used to share all our toys, so after he was gone, they just reminded me that he wasn't there anymore. It was like this constant, painful reminder every time I looked at them. So I just couldn't stand them anymore. The only toys I still enjoy as an adult are video games. And they're different somehow. More of an escape than a reminder.
Well, that's sad.
All right, let's talk about pet toys. Do you ever notice how pet toys have gotten completely out of hand? I mean, when I was a kid, a dog had a bone or maybe a squeaky ball, and that was it. Now you walk into a pet store, and there's an entire aisle dedicated to these things. There are chew toys, plush toys, puzzle toys, even toys that supposedly help clean their teeth. I mean, seriously, what is next? Doggy video games?
Is Milo listening?
My friends are really into comic book collectibles, but that's just not my thing. I'm not into toys, especially collectibles. I'll be honest, part of me really hates the idea of owning any kind of memorabilia. It's like toys you can't even play with. I just don't get the appeal. Still,
Good
I've
boy,
stood
Milo.
in more than my share of lines to help friends get the latest limited release items, but for me, I just collect comic books themselves.
Okay, toys is done. Childhood requires travel.
When I think about travel during my childhood, it's mostly about trips with my dad or my mom, but rarely with both together. My dad took me to conventions all the time. My mom, on the other hand, loved taking me to zoos. She was really into animals. I wasn't really into zoos at all, but it was fun getting out of the house with her and driving somewhere. Even the place we went smelled, well, like a zoo. We didn't travel much as a whole family. Back when The Phantom Menace came out, my best friend and I took a trip to LA to see it early. He got advance tickets somehow, and we spent a month planning the trip. The night before the screening, we were back at our hotel, and he confessed he was madly in love with me. Like it was something he'd been carrying for a while.
Blah.
I think he thought the trip was the right time, that we'd be out of town, a little removed, and staying in a nice hotel. It was a romantic setting, I guess. I told him I didn't feel the same way, and he took it well, like too well. He never brought it up again. We both acted normally the next day, but it was never really normal after that, and things got awkward. We drifted apart. Looking back, I don't know why I was so quick to shut the idea down.
Because you didn't like him. You don't force yourself to like him.
I loved video games as a kid. They were my escape, my way to dive into another world and just forget about everything else. Now, as an adult, I still love video games, but my taste in games has definitely changed. I don't have the time or patience to learn new games all the time. I just find one or two games to settle into and play for years on end. Usually it's whatever my friends are playing. Yeah. Scott's a big online gamer. He is really into World of Warcraft, but he'll play pretty much anything. The thing is that he's honestly not that good at any of the games we play, but no one has the heart to tell him. I don't even think he realizes it. Sarah is, hands down, the best gamer I know. We try out all sorts of online games, and somehow she's always amazing as every one. She is really into MMOs and anything strategic. Anytime we're in a team-based game, she's our default leader, especially MOBAs. It's almost annoying how she's so good at everything.
Okay, first up, father requires.
You know, my dad is actually a bigger gamer than I am. I know you wouldn't expect it because he's older and all that, but he's always been into the latest tech. I grew up watching him get super excited about every new console release and every new gadget that comes out. The funny thing is, we don't even like the same games genres. He's into all these intense shooters and strategy games, while I'm over here like just loving my RPGs and my indie games. But we usually find something we can both stand so we can play together online. Yeah. It's wild how it feels more natural to talk to someone on the headset plugged into a controller than on a phone. Sarah's dad is an Army officer. Last I heard, he was stationed up in Alaska. I don't know much about him, but I think he might be in charge of the whole base he's at up there. Sophia never played video games as a kid. She didn't watch cartoons, didn't know any of the usual movie references the rest of us grew up with. It was like she skipped childhood entirely, but she could talk your ear off about fine wine and five-star restaurants. She was absurdly well-traveled for someone our age, and she knew things most people don't pick up until their 40s. And sometimes it felt like she'd been an adult forever. Like she never really had a kid phase at all. Sophia was studying criminology too, just like me. She was super smart and breezed through her classes. Honestly, I have no clue what her career goals were. She just never really mentioned what she wanted to do after graduation.
Sorry, I'm feeling really
gaming
quiet.
And bears? Yeah, I immediately think of the teddies from Conker's Bad Fur Day. Those brutal, creepy stuffed bears are something. They're not your typical cuddly teddy bears. These guys are armed to the teeth, and they have a real taste for blood. A huge chunk of that game is based on the squirrels' brutal, violent war with the teddies. It's kind of jarring seeing those fuzzy little bears headshotting squirrels with a scoped pistol or lighting a room full of squirrels on fire with a flamethrower. Yeah, that was not the kind of bear in my dream, though. Actually, hold on a second. Thinking back, there is something. It's just like this feeling, but there was something about the bear in my dream that kind of reminds me of one of those teddies. It was not one of them, but there was something like off about the bear. It's just not a normal bear. It was something about it that was closer to a teddy from Conker's Bad Fur Day. I don't know. I think, I don't know if this is helpful or not.
Clues. Why is she bringing up massively online games like that? She should be freaking stuff. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so we've got Santa Claus and trying to make sure I do all the combinations, but
I wonder how
also
the whole
want to just
Santa
sort of
mythos works for
get
kids
more
these
into the
days.
mystery.
The only toys kids want anymore are video games, but like these days, Nobody buys games on discs. They just download them. How does Santa keep busy? I mean, what's he doing all year? I guess when a new console comes out, he's got his work cut out for him, but other years, what's he gonna do? Back in the day, Santa had to lug around actual toys, bikes, action figures, all that stuff, and now it's like, hey, Santa, can you deliver this download code for Among Us? What's he gonna do, send an email? Where's the magic in that? So yeah, it's gotta be weird for the guy. Maybe it's just kicking back, hoping kids start wanting something he can actually put his sleigh and use for again. I don't know.
Got all the bear ones, got all the dad ones, got all the fear ones. Finish off childhood.
That makes me
available ones,
think of growing up in Scranton. I didn't have some horrible school experience, but I got picked on a lot. Usual stuff, quiet kid, weird interest, easy target. It wasn't all bad, but it definitely left a mark. I have a few bullies I'll never forget. Sometimes I wonder if I left a mark.
I know,
on
right?
else, not in a good way. Maybe I said something that hit wrong and stuck. Maybe somebody out there hears my voice when they can't sleep, and not for a reason I'd be proud of. I hope not, but I figure there's probably at least one person who thinks of me as one of the awful people from their past they can't shake. And the worst part is, if they do, I might not even remember them at all.
Oh, we got Scranton. Hey, it's the last one in that side. Okay. Scranton and Santa.
Ugh. My parents used to drag me off to see Santa in our annual parades when I was little. I mean, I would be up there, bundled up in about, 50 layers, standing on the freezing streets of Scranton, watching Santa ride in a fire truck. Yeah, Santa on a fire truck, because, nothing screams Christmas magic like emergency vehicles. I'll be honest, I never really liked parades. They were always way too cold, and I couldn't feel my toes half the time. But, my parents thought it was like this great holiday tradition. So there we were, year after year. We get there early to stake out a good spot, and then we wait. And wait. And wait. By the time Santa finally made his grand entrance, I was usually too numb to care. He'd wave from the top of his fire truck, all jolly and festive, and everyone would just cheer. Meanwhile, I was just thinking about how I could not wait to get back to the car and blast the heat. Scranton and bears, huh? Well, that takes me back to Naog Park Zoo. My parents used to take me there when I was a kid. They had this bear exhibit, and we'd go and watch the bears lumber around their enclosure. I remember seeing them, but, if I'm being honest, I never really liked the zoo. My mom was the one who really was into them. Yeah, I didn't like it. My dad was born and raised in the Scranton area. I mean, of course he was. Why else would anyone choose to live there, right? He's got this deep-rooted connection to the place, all those childhood memories and such. I mean, he still lives there. As for me, when the opportunity to move away came up, I was more than happy to take it. Scranton has its charms, as few as they may be, but it's just, it's not the place for me. Scranton and fear, huh? Well, yeah, a few things come to mind. One of the big ones is the fear of getting stuck there. I mean, growing up, it felt like everyone either stayed forever or couldn't wait to leave. I was definitely in the latter camp. The idea of not getting out, of just settling into the same routines without ever seeing what else was out there. That was pretty terrifying to me. And then there's the fear of those long, cold winters. As a kid, I remember the dread that came with the icy roads and the heavy snowfalls. Driving in that weather was always nerve-wracking, and the thought of getting stranded somewhere in a snowstorm, that was a real fear. We had a couple of dogs that were part of the family, but my younger brother turned out to be allergic to them. I remember how devastated I was when my parents sat us down and explained that Tommy's allergies were getting worse and we had to get the dogs away. I mean, we found good homes for them, but it didn't make the goodbye any easier. I moved into a new apartment less than a year ago, and for the first time in my life, I have a place that allows pets. So I have a dog now for the first time since I was very young. He's a Chihuahua named Spock.
It's going to repeat facts because, we got a house. Chihuahua, yeah.
You'd think a little city like Scranton wouldn't have any urban legends, but surprisingly, it's got a couple. There's the Scranton Sasquatch and the Suskin Screamer. The Scranton Sasquatch is, basically our local version of Bigfoot, supposedly wandering around, the woods outside the city. And then there's the Suskin Screamer, which it's like this ghostly figure people claim to hear screaming near the old railroad tracks in Suskin, just outside of Scranton. Look, these aren't exactly popular myths. I'd say half the people from Scranton probably never even heard of them. So, at least the area has some urban legends of its own. People in my building love to tell stories about how it's haunted. Living in an apartment building in New Orleans, you get used to this kind of thing. It's like a local pastime. Tales of ghosts and voodoo and magic. They're part of the culture of the city. According to the stories, our building has its share of restless spirits. Some say they've seen shadowy figures in the hallways or heard mysterious footsteps at night. There's even a rumor about a ghostly old lady who wanders the building, searching for something she lost. Ooh. Yeah, I'm much more rational. My biggest fears related to my apartment are hurricanes and mold. My childhood house? Oh, it was a cute little ranch house, one floor, big carport that could fit 2 cars, and a yard that felt like it could go on forever. The house itself was kind of small, but the property was massive. We even had a swimming pool. I think it was built in the 1920s, but honestly, most houses in that area are pretty old. I mean, when a city's population is shrinking, there's not exactly a rush to build new houses, right? The most impressive thing about that house, my dad's mortgage payment was $173 a month. He told me that, and I was actually mad at him. Like, seriously, that's not even enough for a used car payment these days. I've got a small collection of comic books, but they don't have a dedicated display case or anything fancy like that. I just keep them in 2 plastic bins. I was never one of those people who kept their comics in plastic sleeves or pristine condition. I read them so much that they get dog-eared and, I don't know, worn out. I'm just not fussy about stuff like that. When I was little, after my mom passed away, I was convinced our house was haunted by her ghost. I especially felt her presence in my parents' bedroom. It was like the air in there was different somehow. I used to sneak in there when no one else was around and talk to her. I'd sit on the edge of the bed and tell her about my day as if she was still there listening. It was my way of coping with her loss, I guess. Ooh, comic books and mythical creatures go hand in hand. I mean, seriously, every mythical creature you've ever heard of has shown up in a comic book at some point. From dragons to griffins to more obscure ones like the chupacabra or wendigo. They have all made an appearance. Yeah, I don't think I can name a single one that hasn't been in a comic book. Mythical creatures in gaming go hand in hand. Anytime there is a game with mythical creatures, I'm all in. Whether it's dragons, elves, fantasy beasts, I'm there for it. I never play a game as a human if there's a better option. I mean, why be a regular person when you can be an elf with magical powers? Duh. Back in the days of wooden sailing ships, people told stories about sirens, these mythical creatures that supposedly sat on rocks in the middle of the ocean, singing their little hearts out, luring sailors to their doom. I mean, what kind of travel nightmare is that? Imagine being on a nice little boat trip just trying to get from point A to point B, and suddenly you hear this irresistible music. Next thing you know, you're crashing into rocks because some half bird, half woman decided today's the day to ruin your life. It's like, what's their end game? Are they just bored? Do they wake up and think, hey, let's go mess with some sailors today? And these sailors, come on, guys. You've been warned. Every legend, every map probably had beware of sirens written all over it. But no, they hear a tune and they lose all sense of direction. So it's like they never heard music before. Honestly, if even half those myths had been true, it would have been a miracle for anyone to ever make it back at all. Between sirens, the krakens, all those other sea monsters, setting sail was basically signing up for a mythical creature encounter.
Yes, and I just finished reading Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, and your mermaids are scary. Okay, so we've unlocked quite a lot. There's 4 left, which I think means there's 4 achievements left, yeah. I'm not going to look what they are, but that'll be the remaining 4 boxes, and hopefully at least one of them will tell us what the flip happened to Tommy, and why she's having nightmares about Santa Claus and a bear. But I am going to leave it there, because I'm getting tired. And if you want to find out, you'll just have to buy the game yourself. I won't be playing anymore on stream. Thanks for being here. Got 14 achievements today, that's pretty good. So yeah, you get a preview of the game. Don't always get the whole game. I have 200 games in my backlog that I need to show people. So if you're in my Discord, I'm started musing about what games I want to play for Extra Life, which is happening in like just over 2 weeks and a day. Will be 20 minutes of 2 weeks and a day. So please feel free to weigh in, make suggestions. Dan, if you've got any challenges, do let me know. Even if you don't donate with them, you're really good at coming up with challenges if you have the brain power. So yeah, that's really what I'm trying to do, is get ready for Extra Life, and also probably line up some spooky games for Saturday. Halloween's on Friday, I believe. So spooky Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then co-stream. The clocks change on Sunday morning, early morning for us in the UK, and also apparently Europe, or at least France. So please pay attention to schedule if you live in a place where the clocks aren't changing on this Sunday, because the streams will be, clocks go back, I get an extra hour's sleep, whatever. So it's going to affect stream time for a week. So yeah, just remember that and adjust your expectations, or just, you know, subscribe to the streams portion of my Discord or sign up for notifications on Twitch. Anyway, I'm going to sleep. I have an appointment tomorrow that I'm kind of excited, kind of nervous about, so I need to get into bed. But yeah, thanks to I Did Xbox for that one, and FMV Interactive. That was Nocturnal Whiskers. No, that was Nocturnal Whispers. Now I want them to do one called Nocturnal Whiskers, which is just cats meowing as an FMV. That would be amazing. With Felicia Day. So yeah, that was good. And then yeah, just trying to get prepped for X Life, get things downloaded. So if there's a game you think I should stream, let me know in advance, please, so I can get it set up so we don't have anything downloading during Extra Life, because that would be bad. But yeah, I've been Jo, otherwise known as Angel SK, and I will catch you later.